Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here with all of you for a brief interview for our project on crisis on the psychic, emotional, and economical level that the whole world is going through. Today, we are going to be talking with Mr. Henrique Meirelles, that in between many other professional positions, was the former president of Bank Boston International, was the former president of Central Bank of Brazil during 8 years of government, a former Minister of Finance of Brazil, and former Secretary of Finance of the state of São Paulo. He is going to be talking with my colleague and friend, Anat Ben Israel, psychologist and teacher from the Biodynamic School from London, and Anat also worked in several other countries as a teacher. So I introduced both of you. I hope we have a nice and good, essential conversation about our project of crisis. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Rubens. And thank you, Enrique, for giving some of your precious time to this conversation and introduction to your talk on August 12th. And with your profound and public and private knowledge of the economic crisis that are constantly happening in various countries, could you briefly say something essential before your talk so that people can face on a practical level these economic ups and downs in their best emotional and mental in an economic way? What could people do? Could you share with us a bit?
Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure to be here and it's an honor for me. Thank you for the opportunity and for the question. The crisis affects everyone in different ways. Then there are different ways to cope with that. The most basic point now is inflation, because inflation with prices rising constantly in some countries more than others, that evidently generates some anxiety, some insecurity, because it's kind of saying that the salary gets smaller every week. And evidently that generates some level of insecurity, and people will have to cope with that. Evidently, that if we separate here the two things, the economic point and the practical ways of dealing with that, that's one thing, and the other point is the emotional one, obviously. The fact that this is happening is a reflection at the end of the day of the pandemic, and the fact that the supply of goods and in some sectors, services, but particularly the disruption of the production channels all over the world, that create some problems, and one of them, the most important one, obviously, it's inflation, because that's a more lasting one. And the problem is for central banks to deal with that, and for governments to deal with that, it's important and necessary to bring the economy down, to bring the level of activity down. And that generates another problem for people, which is the insecurity and the uncertainty about being able to keep their jobs. And then we have here a combination of two things. Number one, the question of raising prices, and the second one, the question of uncertainty about people being able to keep their job. Because on one hand, prices are rising, central banks have to fight that. But in order to fight that, you have to decrease the economy, and as a result, create some higher unemployment. In summary, that is the way to work. The good point, what I think that people could keep in mind is that that's temporary. Exactly the fact that central bank is taking the right measures to face it, it's an indication that this problem is going to be solved. And then there is a light at the end of the tunnel, let's put it this way, and that is what people should be aware of, in the sense that we have really a problem, but this problem is being dealt with, and one part of the problem is exactly the consequence of the measures which are being taken to control inflation and to face the crisis. At the same time, with the time going on, we have the companies and the economy fighting and finding ways to solve these production problems and the economic problem in due time, which causes it, or the basic root of inflation, will also decrease, be alleviated. And as a result of that, the two things together, I think that we will get out of it from the economic point of view, and what we have to deal with everyone's emotional reaction and anxiety about all this situation. But I think the message is the problem is being addressed. It's going to be solved in every country, and we have to cope with that and keep our eyes on the light at the end of the tunnel, because things will eventually be solved. And the level of uncertainty, I think it's decreasing every day.
So, from what you are saying, people should be optimistic that there is a solution, and is
Yes.
there something that the individual in different countries can do to help themselves during these very difficult times?
Yes. What they should do is evidently first to be aware of the fact that this is temporary, evidently deal with the emotional anxiety and consequence of that. And as a result of that, taking practical measures to keep going, because some jobs will be lost, but that's, again, temporary. But most jobs will not be lost. That's very important, and people should concentrate on their work, do their work well, do what they have to do. The functions should be well performed, and people should be well focused on their functions, on their jobs, and keep going. And evidently, again, having a view and listen and seeing and focusing on the light by the end of the tunnel, in the sense that there is a way out, and we should do our job now, and be aware of that, to keep things more controlled emotionally, in order to enable everyone, to enable us to do our jobs well and keep going, not to make things worse from a personal point of view.
Well, this is very encouraging that you, with your knowledge and your experience, have this view. And I'm sure that the viewers will be looking forward to hear your talk and to hear your greater vision to the future. So thank you so much for giving us of your time.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for the very insightful questions.
You're very welcome.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Henrique. Thank you, Anat. And
you.
see you in August.
See you.